start the treatment, we're going to perform a hand and foot cleanse. First, we're going to turn our steamer on so it can warm up, and then we're going to come round the bed, exposing the feet. We're then going to start clockwise by cleansing the client's hands, and placing them down. Followed by the feet. We're then going to cover them up and start by applying our pressure points. Working from the feet, apply a medium to firm pressure, working up the bed on the client. When you get to the stomach, place your hands over the hip bones and pulse gently to stimulate the lymphatic nodes. Then place your hand on the stomach and circle clockwise. Then place your hands on their hands and walk up their arms until you get to the shoulders. Draw underneath the neck and pull the hair back. We're then going to start with our dry body brush. We use this to help stimulate the lymph nodes. So what we're going to do, starting at the chest, gently sweep out towards the armpit. We're then going to pulse the brush 3 times and drain down the inside of the elbow. We're then going to work across the chest, working along the collarbone here. And then we're going to repeat this on the other side. Sweeping out towards the armpit, pulsing in the centre and then down towards the elbow. Working out, pulsing 3 times and down. We're then going to come across the collarbone and finish sweeping down to the inside of the elbow. We're then going to work from behind the ear, down the neck, across the jaw from chin to ear, using our other hand to glide and support, and then from the inside of the nose to the ear. We're going to repeat this on the other side, always working down towards our lymph nodes. Across the chin towards the ear, from the corner of the nose to the hairline, and then finish by gliding down to the collarbone. We're going to finish by gently stroking up from the forehead into the hairline, using our other hand to comb back and glide. We're going to return our body brush and turn on our steamer and place it in front of the client so that the steam is blowing onto the face and not from above. We're then going to apply our oil-based cleanser to the client, ensuring we get it across the chest, the neck and the face. Once we've applied our product and spread it evenly across the skin, we're then going to start working it in, using nice circular motions, being quite firm with our cleanse, and always working towards the lymph nodes. Supporting one side of the nose while we work down the nostril, following our nasal labial fold all the way down and draining back and round. Working through the brow and repeat on the other side. Once we've worked our oil cleanser into the skin, we're then going to activate it with some water. So while we're working it across the chest, we need to make our way up onto the forehead Then simply wet one hand and then mix it with the other hand to start emulsifying the product on the client's skin. The product should turn a milky white colour, and this helps draw any makeup, any impurities on the skin away, ready to be removed. Once we've worked this over the skin, we're then going to remove it with sponges. Cleansing across the lips to remove any product. And working under the eyes. We're going to rinse out our sponges and repeat that. We're then going to follow with our second cleanse. Here I'm using a gel cleanser, which I've added water to help it foam. The steam will also help with that too. And again, I'm spreading this evenly across the client's skin. If you need to add more water to your product, rather than removing your hands, simply work across the forehead while you wet one hand and then join it on the face to ensure that you never leave the client's skin while working that product in. Similar to our first cleanse, we want to make sure that we're covering the whole area that we're going to be massaging. So working across the chest, down the neck and the top of the shoulders. While you're doing your second cleanse, you can start to have a real look on the client's skin. Feel for any textural issues or anything that you might want to combat with other treatments or recommend aftercare for. Making sure that we only cleanse down the side of one nostril at a time to ensure that the client can still breathe. Once we've worked the product into the skin, we're going to finish with some circles on the temple and then remove the product. So next we're going to exfoliate our client's skin. We're going to use a rice grain based cleanser. We need to activate this with water and mix it in one of our bowls. Once we've activated the product, we're going to brush it onto the skin. Working across the chest, down the neck, and then all over the face. Try to apply the majority of the product that you have in the bowl. We start applying it from the chest upwards to make sure that we don't end up with too much product in the hair. Once you've got product all over the face, you can then start to foam it up further with the brushes, working in small circular motions, firstly across the chest, then up the neck, onto the face. Using just one brush on the forehead to make sure that we don't end up with product splattering everywhere, and then down the nose. Doing this again to ensure that the product penetrates into the skin. Once you've finished, remove any excess product from the brushes and then you can manually work it into the skin. Focusing on areas of congestion like the chin, underneath the jaw, and the corners of the mouth and the sides of the nose. If you think your client's skin can tolerate it, you can then add a booster to your exfoliator. Simply mix a pump of the product into your hands and continue to work it over the skin. Spend 3 to 4 minutes working this product into the skin so that the enzymes in the exfoliator have got time to digest the dead skin. Once the 3 to 4 minutes has passed, we're then going to remove this product with our ultrasonic device. Finishing on the temples, we're going to rinse off our hands. We're then going to get a tissue and our ultrasonic device ready. Working methodically across the skin with really light pressure. We're going to work across, and you can use the tissue to wipe off any excess product. You can use the ultrasonic device to help lift out any comedones that the client may have. And we can use this as a first step for our extractions. Once finished, we're going to remove the excess product with sponges. After we've removed the exfoliator, we're then going to follow with professional extractions. Folding your tissues into triangles, then wrapping it round your index finger, folding the end in, and then twisting the rest of the tissue underneath to create a soft pad ready to exfoliate. Once you've wrapped your fingers up, turn your client's head slightly to the side, using your thumb to support on the bridge of the nose, placing one finger on top of the nostril you're going to be working on and the other one to the side. Push down, scoop round and wiggle to lift the nostril up and to wiggle the comedones out. Use your other finger to slide down and then repeat by moving up ever so slightly. Repeat on the other side and any other areas of congestion you can find on the client's skin. Applying 2 to 3 pipettes of massage oil to your hands. Warm this up and then apply it to the client's skin. Working across the chest, down the arms, all the way back up to the face. We want to effleurage across the skin, spread our product, and also stimulate our lymph glands here. We're going to do 3 full effleurages of the chest, arms, and face, and then concentrate on the lower half to help stimulate the lymph glands. Once we reach our elbows, we're going to pulse 3 times and then come back up. And then we're going to start above the armpits by pulsing 3 times. Moving down and pulsing 3 times again in the centre of the elbows. We're going to repeat this 3 times with a medium pressure. Once we've repeated that 3 times, we're then going to work 1 full effleurage of the arms, neck and chest and face. We're then going to come down, work under the back of the neck, take hold of the client's head and turn it to a side. We're then going to place a hand on the client's hairline, using our other hand to work down, across the shoulder and up the side of the neck. Using our other hand to stroke across to transition back to the first hand. With every alternate effleurage working down towards the elbow. We're going to repeat this 3 to 4 times before working across the clavicle. We're going to glide down the neck, place our hand in the centre and work out, splitting our fingers and waving across the collarbones here, going around the shoulder and gliding back up the neck. So we're going to go down, across, waving, down and around. We're going to repeat this 4 to 5 times and then do a full effleurage of the area. So across, down to the armpit, to the inner of the elbow and up and back. We're then going to swipe down the neck from the behind the ear to the collarbone. Always working in long fluid movements, ensuring we start right up behind the ear and end on the shoulder, so we're not missing any parts of the skin out. Once we've done that, we're going to come back up the neck, move the hair out the way, and considering our fingers, we're going to place a finger in front and behind the ear. We're going to press, circle 3 times, and then move up. Press, circle 3 times, move up, press, circle 3 times, and then finally once more at the top. We're then going to glide back down and repeat this again. Once at the top, you can take your other hand off to help swipe and then lead you back into that effleurage. Again, alternating, going all the way down to the elbow. We're then going to come up and work along the jaw here. So using our fingers at the start, we're going to march up and across. When we reach the chin, we're going to pinch and glide back down. You want quite a firm pressure here to really help lift and sculpt the face. Making sure that you have short enough fingernails in order to get the pressure point right on your fingertips underneath the jaw. Repeating this 3 to 4 times, sculpting from under the jawbone to under the cheekbone. And gliding back. We're then going to work on the next section, so we're going to come from underneath the cheekbone to above it. So starting here, we're going to work up. Again, with quite a firm pressure to really lift and sculpt the skin. You can see the skin moving here as I work. Finishing at the corner of the mouth and then using your little finger down the edge of the nose to sculpt underneath, following with your other hand. So starting here in front of the ear, marching your fingers up under the cheekbone, reaching the corner of the mouth and a little finger glide all the way back and round. We're now going to follow this with our half face effleurage. So we're going to place one hand all the way across the jaw, following the other hand like a diamond, and again with a firm pressure, gliding and pressing back into the hair. So we're going to take this hand, really sculpting it round the client's face, following it with our other hand, gliding back into the hairline, and then working, gliding and sculpting across the area we've just worked, and then draining toward the lymph nodes. And then bringing our hand back up. We're then going to massage here in the TMJ joint, and we're just going to use our fingers to gently knead to help start to break down any tension that the client may have. Once we've worked this area, we're then going to use a tapotement movement along the nasal labial folds. Start by lightly tapping one hand and then joining it with the other, working up and down that nasal labial fold. Once you've done this, you can then glide, smoothing and sculpting from the jaw to the ear, and continue with that half face effleurage. Moving around the side of the bed, place your thumbs between the mouth and the nose and march your fingers towards your thumbs, creating a roll, and roll this back up towards the ear. When you reach the front of the ear, glide your thumbs round the back into the hairline and push. We're then going to start again by placing our thumbs at the front, marching that skin towards our thumbs to create a roll and dragging that roll back towards the ear. Once we reach the ear, glide round and press back into the hairline. We're going to repeat this around 4 times, really making sure you lift and sculpt the skin as we're doing it. Once finished, we can then effleurage round the face to start with our sinus pressure points. Leaving this hand here in the hairline for support, we're going to use our finger and press at the corner of the nose, pressing down but also lifting up as we do so. Hold it for a second, release the pressure but keep your finger in contact with the skin. Drag your finger out to underneath the cheekbone and again press and lift and sculpt. Release the pressure and drain back towards the ear and follow with your other hand to guide it. So we're going to press at the corner of the nose, release the pressure where the cheekbone is. We're going to press and lift and then drain towards the ear, following with a few draining motions, swiping out towards the ear. We're going to repeat this 3 to 4 times, and then we're going to follow it with pressure points to the top of the sinuses. So you're going to place your finger where sunglasses would sit, press, release the pressure and swipe underneath, and again follow with your other hand for drainage, press, release the pressure and glide underneath. We're then going to come to the top of the brow, and we're going to get there by doing our half face effleurage, gliding back and sculpting and finishing underneath the eyebrow. So with our index finger, we're going to glide it underneath the brow bone, pinch and squeeze, and then drag across. So again, we're going to pinch and squeeze, and what we're pinching and squeezing is this bit of tissue here. So we want to really make sure we get a good pinch, and then we can drain that across, following with our other hand, pinch and drain, swipe, pinch and drain. And you can see as I'm doing it, I'm really lifting and sculpting the eyebrow. There's quite a lot of pressure there in order to get that lift and that pinch in the skin and the drain across. We're then going to repeat with our half face effleurage, sculpting and gliding back to the hairline. We now need to work on the other side of the face. So to get there, we're going to sweep our hands round the client and bring their face back to the centre. We're following this with an effleurage to just make sure we can reset the neck. So bringing the hands underneath, stretch out and pull back. And we're going to do a few more effleurages just to help drain that lymph that we've just worked on. As we come round from our effleurage, place your hands under the back of the neck and then turn your client to the side, and we're going to repeat on this side. Sculpting down the neck, down the arm, back up again. Starting with stimulating your lymph nodes on this side. Once we finish on the opposite side, we're going to do a few effleurages to return the client's head back to centre and reset. We then need to work on the forehead area, working your hands up towards the forehead. We're then going to slowly stroke all the way across, really lifting and sculpting the area back to the hairline. Starting in the centre of the eyebrows, we're going to place 2 fingers on each side, press, release and glide across the forehead. Depending on the size of your client's forehead will depend how many times you need to do this. Here we're going to do 2 rows and then repeat this on the opposite side. Working all the way back towards the hairline, ensuring that you don't miss any of the skin. Once we've done that, we're going to stroke back and do some full face, neck and arm drainage. Starting with effleurage to the face, working our way down slowly to the neck, across the shoulders and down the arms. Once we've repeated this 3 to 4 times, we're then going to work our way up for our finishing moves for our massage. Working up to the face, coming up the bridge of the nose with the back of our little fingers, slowly dragging all the way down to the hairline. We're then going to gently stroke, working across the forehead, lightly on our fingertips, across the forehead, coming down onto the cheeks, alternating across, then the jaw, across the neck, the chest, all the way out to the shoulders. We're then going to work our hands from the shoulders, gently up the back of the neck, lightly across the jaw, bringing our hands to the temple, circling, working our hands around the eyes 3 to 4 times, gently with our index fingers, but the other fingers can trace if there's room. We're then going to place our fingers on the cheekbones, lay our hands flat so that the top of the eyelid touches the inside of the palm, lightly press and circle, and then we're going to peel back and finish with pressure to the temples. And that's our face massage done. We now need to put our gloves on, ready to do our intraoral massage. Once we've got our gloves on, we're then going to pop some Vaseline just around the client's mouth, just to make it more comfortable for them throughout the treatment. We're going to get our client to gently open their mouth. We're going to place our thumbs inside and then ask them to close their mouth. We're then going to work our hands in a circular motion, creating a semicircle, working from underneath the jaw towards the eyes. Once you've got your thumbs in the mouth, if you place your thumbs towards the back, you'll be able to feel the muscle that we want to work on and really make sure that your thumb is heading towards this area. Once your hands are inside the mouth, you want to make sure that your thumbs stay still and it's just your fingers that do the work. You can check with your client throughout this bit how the pressure feels, and then you'll know whether to apply more or to be a little bit more gentle. Once you've performed 6 to 10 semicircles from the cheek up to the eye, we're then going to work on one side. So removing one thumb and placing it into the opposite side, turning your client's head to the side. We're then going to use our thumb underneath and our fingers to really work this area of the jaw. So we're going to start from the ear towards the mouth by marching our fingers across and then coming towards the mouth. So starting at the ear, marching And here you can really feel that muscle popping. Making sure you've got your thumb far enough back in the mouth here to match up to where your fingers are. Working towards the mouth, and then we're going to work the next area, which is lower down, marching across. And then again, another row from the chin here upwards. Once we've done this, we're going to swipe in between. So we're then going to add a swipe, and a swipe. This is our opening move to then start our work. So we're now going to support with this hand here, keeping your thumb in the air because we've had this in our client's mouth. We're going to march from the ear towards the mouth and then swipe. Working on the next row, marching from under the jaw towards the mouth and then swipe, and then working from just below the bottom lip, marching all the way up and then swiping. We're going to repeat this 3 to 4 times, and then we're going to just follow with an effleurage, which involves just swiping our fingers across, soothing the area down. We're then going to do our TMJ release move, which we're going to place our 2 fingers meeting up with our thumb inside on top of the area and 2 fingers on top, and we're going to press and circle. And you can really feel this with your thumb inside the mouth. You really want to work this area, as this is why the clients come. Once you've done it for around 10 seconds, you can then swipe and repeat again 3 to 4 times. Really making sure with your thumb you can feel the area that you're working with. Once you've done this, we're then going to move on to the lower chin area here, and we're just going to work marching our fingers up and swiping. Then do an effleurage to blend into our next move, which is where we're going to work up the nasolabial fold. So we're just going to gently move our thumb a little bit higher up and use our fingers to swipe down the nasolabial fold there. We're then going to finish with a full cheek effleurage. We're going to move our thumb back over to the other side, insert our other thumb, effleurage across both cheeks, and then move onto the other side and repeat. So we're then going to lift this hand out and place the thumb over and turn the client's head. And we're going to just do a few effleurages, using this hand for support, making sure we've got our thumb far enough back inside the mouth. We're then going to start with our marching from our ear towards our jawline. You can really feel the tension in the muscle with your thumb inside the mouth. We're then going to do our next row from the corner of our jaw towards the centre of the mouth. And then our third row from the lower corner of the mouth all the way in. We're then going to do an effleurage to blend and work our hands back up to the ear and do our march and swipes, working all the way into the mouth and then gliding in the second area, marching all the way in and then gliding, and then the third area, marching our fingers all the way in and then gliding. We're going to repeat this 3 to 4 times on this side, and then once we've done that, we'll do our effleurage to blend to do our TMJ release. Making sure you've got your thumb far enough back inside the mouth, place your fingers in front of the ear and pair it up with your other hand, circling around to help release the muscle tension here. After around 10 seconds, effleurage across and repeat 3 to 4 times. Once we've completed that, we're then going to work on the lower chin area here, slightly marching up with gentle pressure compared to what we would use further back in the mouth. We're then going to work up to the nasolabial fold, swiping down, helping depuff the area and sculpt the skin. We're then going to finish with an effleurage of the whole area. We're going to help ease the client's head back into the centre, place our other thumb back inside and finish with an effleurage of both cheeks. Once you've finished, gently remove your hands and fold up your gloves. We're then going to remove the oil and the product from the client's skin using our oil-based cleanser. So placing your hand, one hand on top with the product in the other hand, you can gently apply it so they feel like it's still part of the massage. Gliding the oil across the client's skin. Working your way up to the forehead and emulsifying it with water. We need to make sure we've removed any oil from the skin, ready for our next step of the treatment, which requires conductive gel to be applied. Once we've removed our oil-based cleanser, we're going to gently apply our conductive gel. This will be slightly cold, so make sure you apply it in a thin layer. We want to apply the conductive gel to the face, concentrating in the areas that we'll be working in, mainly across the lower jaw and the cheek area, and then also up onto the forehead. Once we've applied a thin layer of the product, we can then use our radiofrequency device. Turning it on and making sure we work our way to the radiofrequency setting. We then want to gently apply it to the skin in a circular motion and then work our way up to the area. We're going to work the radiofrequency across the cheeks for 3 minutes each and then move on to the forehead for the final 2 minutes of the treatment. You can use the tool to glide across and swap into the other hand, and then use your hand to support on the forehead, lifting and sculpting as you work it across the skin. When you reach the forehead, you want to do it in small circular motions, working around. Once we've finished on the forehead, we're going to turn off the device by holding down the button, and then we're going to remove the product with a hot towel. Placing it across the client's chest and pressing down onto the shoulders. Holding it here for a few minutes so that the client can absorb the heat from the towel, working our hands across into the centre, gliding out, and then picking up the corners of the hot towel, placing the centre onto the chin, lifting one side up and then the other crossing the forehead. Place your hands on the forehead, fingertips on the cheeks and circle. And then press along the jaw, pinching and moving up to behind the ears. To remove, place one hand on top of the hot towel and wrap the other side around your fingers and gently glide across the skin, removing any product and sculpting the face all the way down the neck. Place that side back onto the shoulder and do the same on the other side. Once you've done the other side, place your hand in the centre of the hot towel and wrap it around with your other hand. You can then use this as a mitt to remove any excess product, using your arm as support, checking into the corners of the nose and the top lip, working your way up and across the forehead and down the other side. We're then ready for our finishing products. Using your toner, spritz this above the client so that the mist gently falls down. Then apply your chosen serum. Using a small amount, warm the product in your hands and start by gently drawing it along the jaw, across the bridge of the nose and under the cheeks and onto the forehead. Use the remaining product in your hands to work down the neck and across the chest. Then spread the rest of the product into the skin, using the full palm of your hand to really ensure that you press the product into the skin. Next, we're going to use eye cream. So I'm going to finish here on my temples, pick up a small amount of eye cream and spread this between my fingers. I'm going to place this underneath the eyes and above in the brow. And I'm going to circle around, lifting and sculpting as I do so. Using quite a firm pressure around the brow to really lift and drain out. I'm going to finish with the temples and then I'm going to apply my moisturiser. Again, warming the product between our hands, starting at the jaw and drawing back across the nose, onto the forehead, and then down the neck, onto the chest. Really taking the time to slowly work the product into the skin with a firm pressure. Making sure that the product gets all over the face. Across the ears and up onto the forehead, around the eyes, and then finishing with pressure to the temple. We're then going to apply our SPF, spreading the product, and rather than using our jaw pullbacks this time, we're going to box press the SPF into the skin, onto the chest and up the neck, working the product gently over the skin to ensure it's protected. We're then going to finish similar to our massage with some really gentle cat strokes across the face, working our way down the neck and along the chest. Finishing by pressing onto the shoulders, working our hands up the back of the neck, latching our fingers behind the head and giving it a gentle pull, releasing, gliding across the jaw, along the cheeks, up to the forehead, and circling around the eyes and finishing with a pressure point to the temples. And that's our treatment done.